Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. You know the drill by now. If you jump on here live here on this Thursday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure you give the video a like, a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Good evening, Kevron. Glad to have you here. As always, you see Kevron, I'm wearing my Clemson hat and one of my many Clemson shirts. Hopefully you're wearing your Tiger Pride as well. But I wanted to go ahead and come on here and talk about AEW All In, which the long name for it was AEW All In Texas, but I prefer to just call it All In because each time they move their pay-per-view, they don't call it the name and the state. So I don't think Texas should be special. So to me, it's AEW All In. Of course, it took place from Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas this past Saturday. Now, we've already talked about Great American Bash and Saturday night's main event and Evolution. So after I get done talking about AEW's All In, we've completely reviewed all the pay-per-view / premium live events from this past weekend. And of course, this upcoming weekend, TNA on Sunday has Slammiversary, which is basically the WrestleMania for TNA. It's their biggest show of the year, so expect a few surprises. Of course, already announced is AJ Styles, but there'll be some more surprises outside of AJ Styles because that has already been told to you. There'll be some things happen that have not been told to you. By the way, I got a brand new wedding ring, and I want to show that off while I'm thinking about it. I think I've pretty much been wearing the same wedding ring since me and Grace got married. If not, it feels like it's been the whole entire time. But then again, putting up with a woman, it feels like I've been married for 140 years, so time kind of gets away from me. But nevertheless, hey there, Yuri. Glad to have you here. Been wearing the same wedding ring for a while, so it feels good to get a brand new wedding ring. And the best part about this wedding ring is it didn't cost me a dime. I can go with free. I love free. Hey there, Christian. Glad to have you here. Yuri and Christian, I believe it's the first time I've seen y'all's names in the comment section. If it's y'all's first time being here, thank you so much for stopping by. Feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. We talk wrestling, college football, the NFL, college basketball, the NBA, Major League Baseball, a little college baseball, NASCAR, and then top 10 countdowns that are sometimes about sports and sometimes they can be about anything. No particular topic. I jump all over the place during my top 10 countdowns, and I do one just about every single week. But, of course, All In was 12 matches all together. Let's talk about the main 9. The Ops beat the Death Riders. MJF won the men's casino gauntlet match, which gives him a future AEW World title shot. Hey there, Jimbo Jones. Glad to have you here. And I assume you're talking about the old pitcher, Kenny Rogers. And I always hated that name because there was a country singer named Kenny Rogers. So every time I heard Kenny Rogers, I automatically thought of country music instead of Major League Baseball, but I'm going to assume you're talking about the old Kenny Rogers pitcher. He was a good pitcher. I don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy, but he was a good pitcher. But he pitched at a time when there was so many Hall of Fame pitchers that he kind of got lost in the shuffle, but he was good. Hey there, Nicholas. Glad to have you here. The light from the window is making the video go in and out. Well, luckily, I've done so many videos that everybody knows by now how good looking I am. So if the video goes in and out, it's okay, but you don't want it to be totally dark. So I'd rather it go in and out than be totally dark. And I think it's the way that the clouds are covering up the sun, since the sun is getting ready to set. Hey there, I'm going to assume your name is Necky. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Ben. Glad to have you here. But Jimbo, you're talking about Kenny Rogers. You got to remember, in the 90s, man, we had, hey there, Don. Glad to have you here. In the 90s, you had Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, and you had Roger Clemens, you had Randy Johnson, you had Kurt Schilling. So it's just amazing how many great pitchers you had in the 90s. That's just to name a few. That's not mentioning Andy Pettit and Jimmy Key. That's just mentioning a few pitchers. And Ben, I don't smoke at all, but thank you for asking. I'm assuming you're trying to be funny, but I don't smoke at all. Now, I've got some smoking hot and good looks, but that's the only smoking I do. And no, Shanna, I do not live in Alabama. Hey there. Oh, Necky, glad to have you back, and you don't have to apologize. It's perfectly okay. And I'm glad you think so, Nicky. I'm a long time baseball fan. I try not to talk about it a whole lot on here. Jimbo asked a while ago about Kenny Rogers, and that got me on the subject of baseball. But I try not to talk about it too much because it seems like most of the people that watch this channel, at least so far until the channel gets really big, and hopefully one day that'll happen, but until then, it seems like most of the people that watch this channel are football fans and wrestling fans. So I feel like if I talk too much about baseball, I'm going to gain 3 or 4 viewers, but then I'm going to lose 80 or 90. So, yeah, I'd love to have 3 or 4, 5, 6 new viewers that love baseball, but I don't want to lose 80 or 90 to get them. And so far, most of the folks I watch this channel are either college football fans or wrestling fans. Hey there, AB. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Frankie. Glad to have you here. Hey there, MM. Glad to have you here. And yeah, Frankie, I agree with you. And just like I've said from the get-go that paying college football players was a bad idea, I think betting on sports is a terrible idea. Now, I would never do it personally because I worked hard for my money, and I would rather keep my $10 than take a chance on losing my $10. But some people do it. But to me, it's just too hard because you can watch a team, and they'll be the best team that you ever saw. And you think, man, this team is unbeatable. Nobody can beat this team. And as soon as you bet on them, they'll have the worst game you've ever seen. But so many people are money hungry that they will pull against their team and hope their team loses just because they want their money. If I was ever going to actually bet money, I would never bet in a game that featured my team, because if I feel like my team is going to lose, I'm going to honestly tell you, yeah, man, I think we're in for a bad day. But when I watch them play, I'm not going to pull against them. To me, I don't care if you got $1 million on the line. If you're watching your team and you are actively rooting for your team to lose, then you're not a real fan of your team. That's just the way I feel about it. And I'm talking about college football right now, and I agree with you, Frankie. I know a lot of people that have just lost, not everything, but that's a kind of an exaggerated phrase, but they've lost a lot of money on betting, and I'll never understand it because You just don't know. And you would think, hopefully, Frankie, you learned your lesson. But I know some people that bet and they'll talk about it, and the way they talk, they've lost over $100, but yet they're still betting. How much money do you need to lose before you realize it's not smart? Watch the game. Just watch the game for the love of the game and not watch the game because you've got money on the line. To me, it just does not make any sense at all. But Dustin Rhodes beat Daniel Garcia, Kyle Fletcher, and Sammy Guevara in a fatal four-way for the vacant AEW TNT Championship. Hey there, Gravity Core. Glad to have you here. And that match ended up Dustin Rhodes getting the win for the vacant TNT title because Adam Cole came out and basically in a roundabout way retired. Now, in the wrestling world, they say you never actually officially retire, but he did everything but that. But he's had health issues dating back to WWE. He just cannot seem to get past the concussion issues. And I agree with you, Wazard. So glad to have you here. I love that name, by the way. It's not the Wizard of Oz. It's the Wazard of Iz. So a little word play on the Wizard of Oz. So I like that, Wazard. But glad to have you here. But he pretty much come out and said he's having health issues. He didn't really specify what it is, but I'm to assume it's concussion issues because he had those back in WWE days. He's already taken time off in AEW the last couple of years due to concussion, so it's hard to assume it's not that. But he might be back one day, but I wouldn't count on it. And he's very, very, very young, especially in the wrestling world, since now you see wrestlers wrestling into their 50s. But if he's got concussion issues, even if he's 25, he might need to go ahead and just think about hanging it up. Doing something backstage is fine, but don't wrestle. Athena wins the women's casino gauntlet match for a future AEW Women's World Championship match. Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay beat the Young Bucks. Hurt Syndicate beat Jet Speed and the Patriarchy in a three-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Timeless Tony Storm beat Mercedes Moné to retain the Women's World Championship. Kazuchika Okada beat Kenny Omega for the inaugural Unified Championship. And then Hangman Adam Page beat Jon Moxley in a Texas death match to become the new AEW World Champion. Now, a lot of people got upset at what WWE did, and I totally understand getting upset about it. But if I can try to make it make sense, TV numbers wise, AEW is actually growing here in the past few months. Hey there, Samantha. Glad to have you here, which is good. WWE's TV numbers have been down a little bit, but they still have at least twice the numbers AEW does. So logically, in reality, AEW is not WWE's competition. They don't have enough TV viewership to be competition. They're trying to be. They want to be. They might get there one day, but they're not there yet. Hey there, Swoosh. Glad to have you here. And no, Swoosh, I wake up every day the same way. I don't have to act. What you see behind this microphone, behind this phone, is the same me day and night. And unfortunately, the Southern drawl is just something I can't hide. I've been in the South all my life. I don't use a lot of the Southern terms that Southern people use because to me they sound dumb and make you sound ignorant. But unfortunately, when you're born in the South, you're raised in the South, and you live in the South, you kind of have that Southern drawl. I saw a lady earlier today, never saw her a day in my life, and she walked by and she said, "I love your accent." And I said, "Thank you." But to me, it's not an accent, it's just the way us Southerners talk. But I guess if you're not from here, you hear it. But to me, I sound like every other person in the South. But thank you Anyway, swoosh, because that means you're paying attention to what I'm saying, and I appreciate that. Hey there, Syndicate. It must be morning time wherever you are, so either good Thursday morning to you if you're behind us, or good Friday morning to you if you're ahead of us. Either way, thanks for being here. Please feel free to give the video a thumbs up, a like, and if you have not subscribed, please do so. But anyway, TV numbers wise, they're not competition. Maybe if they keep growing, they will be, but they're not there yet. But the reason why WWE done what they did over the weekend, what I mean by what they did is, so far in the past, they have tried to not book shows the same way AEW has a show, but this past weekend, they could have avoided it. They chose not to. And Samantha, I'm sure people love your accent, because I know people that live here in America, and if you ask them what their favorite accent is, almost every one of them either say Australian or they say British. But Samantha, if you're now living in the U.S., I'm sure if you stay long enough, it'll never fade, but it will get better, just like you can be from California. But if you move to Mississippi, in about 10 years, you're going to sound like you're from Mississippi. It's funny how our bodies work. That's just the way it goes. But I'm sure you still have it. But stay here long enough. It'll never go away, but it will get better. And eventually people are going to say, Samantha, where are you from? You've got kind of an accent. You have to tell them, exactly where you are from. But All In is AEW's biggest show of the year. It's their WrestleMania, so you know that when they do that show, something big is going to happen. Oh, you live in New York City. Well, you picked not quite the biggest city in the biggest state, but one of. Matter of fact, Samantha, on my top 10 countdown a couple of weeks ago, I did the top 10 most populated states in the U.S. Hey there, Katie. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. And I want to say New York was number 4, I believe, if memory serves, Samantha. But thank you for being here. No, Katie, I am not from Texas. Matter of fact, I've never been to Texas. I've never had a desire to go to Texas. Maybe one day if the mood hit me, if Clemson played a football game there, I would go, but I'm just never going to wake up one morning and say, oh, you know what? I want to go to Texas, because I've heard it's very, very big, and I like the country. I don't think I'd like being in Texas. But All In was originally scheduled for 8 o'clock Saturday night. And then WWE announced Saturday night's main event. So AEW said, okay, y'all want main event? We'll go to the afternoon time. So Tony Khan announced All In for a 3 o'clock Eastern start time. And then WWE came back and said, okay, you know what? We'll have Great American Bash. So on the outside, it looks kind of strange that if they're not competition, why are you running shows against them? Hey there, Swoosh. They've won 3 national championships in football. They've won multiple national championships in soccer, but I don't talk soccer a whole lot here on the channel. Hopefully one day I'll have enough viewers that like soccer to where I will. This place is insane. It's too busy. I miss the UK. The people are so different here and a bit rude. I agree with you, Samantha. I've never been to New York, but I actually right now work with a guy from New York. He's moved to Georgia from New York, and he told me that people up in New York, not all of them, but for the most part, they're all rude. That's just the way they are. So I wouldn't like going there. But Samantha, I'm hoping that you got a job that required you to move to New York City. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure why you would move there, because there's no way I would ever willingly, by choice, want to live in New York City, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, Chicago, any of those cities that have millions of people. I'm not living in it. I'd like to live in a city that had 5 people. That's me, my wife, and my kids, and that's it. That'd be my kind of city right there. But hopefully you had to move there for a job, so hopefully after a while you get used to it. But Samantha, I'm so glad you're here. I think it's the first time I've seen your name here in the comment section, so hopefully you give the video a like and you subscribe to the channel and come back, because I'm sure even if you're not a wrestling fan, there's some sport that you like, and if not, I'm sure I'll do some top 10 countdowns that catch your attention. But I've heard many of folks say that people in New York City are rude, so I definitely would agree with that statement. And way too many people for my blood. Hey there, Kyra. Glad to have you here. And Swoosh, this upcoming year is going to be Cade's last season with Clemson. He's projected to be a first-round draft pick next year. As a Clemson fan, I can tell you there's no way on God's green earth I would draft Cade Klubnik in the first round. But hopefully he'll improve this year. They're mean. I'm only here for work. I want a transfer to California, and someone has to want to relocate to New York in order for that to occur. Thanks. Woo-wee. So you're wanting to go from the big city of New York to the big state of California, and you might hate that. Even worse, Samantha, you need to transfer to a small state like a Vermont or a Delaware or a Rhode Island or Maine, somewhere like that. I think that's a place you would like, because those are all pretty small states. Wyoming has less than 1 million people in the whole state. So if you want to go out west, go to Wyoming. But Swoosh, hopefully this year, Cade Klubnik can improve and make me change my mind, because he has potential. But to me, the word potential means you currently suck. He has showed me nothing to where I think he's even top 2 in NFL as far as getting drafted. He shouldn't go no earlier than at least 3rd round. Maybe he'll change my mind this year. And yes, Samantha, when I did my top 10 countdown a couple of weeks ago about the states with the most people, the bottom 5 were both Dakotas and Wyoming and Alaska, and I believe Delaware, and those, or Vermont, one of those two, and those 5 states all had less than 1 million people, and Wyoming was dead last. So the smallest state population-wise in the U.S. is Wyoming. I've always heard it's pretty, but there's just nothing there. So if you want quiet, then you move to Wyoming. Hopefully the job you have has a position or a job in the state of Wyoming. I believe if you don't like the hustle and bustle of New York City, I think you would like Wyoming. But with All In being their biggest show of the year, you know they're going to do something big, and you don't want wrestling fans to wake up Sunday morning or Monday morning and the first thought on their mind is All In. So you want to schedule your event so that they watch your event instead of their event. You went to Boston. It was beautiful there. I've heard that Boston is a very, very, very beautiful, beautiful place. If I was ever going to travel, that's probably where I would go. And thank you so much, Swoosh. I hope Cade Klubnik has a successful career. But what I've seen so far, I just don't see it. And I want to be wrong, but, I just don't see it. But, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence were both supposed to be good. And Deshaun had about 3 good years and then just fell off a cliff. And Trevor Lawrence has been nothing short of pitiful. So maybe Cade Klubnik does the reverse and, is not expected to do a whole lot and ends up being really good, because he's not getting near the hype that Deshaun got and near the hype that Trevor got. Cade's hype is mainly because of the fact he has the look and he has potential, whereas Deshaun and Trevor were producing so much on the field, and Cade's overall numbers are just as good as Deshaun's and Trevor's. But Cade Klubnik likes to throw the ball up in the air way too much for my blood. That's just my opinion. But hey there, Can. Glad to have you here. And you're always going to have WWE fans that are going to watch WWE no matter what, and you're always going to have AEW fans that are always going to watch AEW no matter what. Those fans' minds you can't change. But the fans that like both, if you let them watch AEW and All In is phenomenal, they might walk away and say, you know what? AEW is better. I like it better now. And you don't want that. So you want to make sure that if you can make them watch you instead of AEW, you do that because you don't want to lose more fans and let AEW catch you even more in the TV numbers. But AEW has always had the best wrestling, but their problem was their storylines were pretty much almost non-existent. But ever since about, I would say, just about first of the year, but really in the past 4 months, their storylines have gotten really, really, really good. And you can tell because that's why their TV numbers are growing. But Can, I'm glad you're here, but everything you're typing is in Arabic. So that's why I'm not responding. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not too familiar with the Arabic language. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Beverly's nephew is 4, and he can't say please in Spanish. I think that's poor for 4. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.